Hi, welcome back. Today I'd like to talk to you about how I escaped the perfectionist trap. I have been a perfectionist all my life, to the extent to which I can't act on something until I've made absolute sure that I have planned and perfected every single angle there is to perfect about something. But now, as time went by, what I realized is I've really missed out on many golden years of my life to which I could have acted on something, and God knows what that would have led me to. This brings me to actually a very interesting idea that I read from The Creative Act by Rick Rubin's recently, to which he said, when you receive an idea from the source, and I think in this context, he is referring to the source as the universe. In this book, he said, when an idea comes to you and you don't seize it, what happens is there is almost like an expiry date to this idea, which this idea will just go on to someone else when you don't help this idea manifest into reality. And I found this concept just really interesting because how often have you had an idea before where you're like, wow, this is such a brilliant idea. Maybe you wanted to create an app. Maybe it's a business idea that you wanted to start. Maybe it's even content, a video you wanted to create on social media platforms. You don't do it. Days, months, or years later, you see someone else doing it, and they really have allowed the idea to flourish in their own way. And you're like, wait, I had this exact same idea however long ago, but I didn't act on it. But the interesting thing about the universe is that idea has found someone else to embody it. So, what I'm trying to say here is I think it is useful for us to remember that when an idea comes to us, we should try to have an urgency to putting this idea out to reality, even if that might mean that is going to lead you to failure. And most of the time, it doesn't, because in life, it is never a lose-lose game. My mom has always told me this, which is I am either learning something or gaining something, which means that whatever it is that I choose to do in life, it is never a lose-lose game. It is always a win-win scenario. I've carried this phrase with me in life, which I think brought me so much more courage because I don't see things as zero-sum anymore. I don't see things as a single outcome oriented anymore, where I feel like if I put this input, then I must measure my success or I must measure my result by this particular output. But by carrying this phrase, I'm either learning something or gaining something. And because there is always something to learn from whatever it is that you do, it's just a sense of relief, I think. It's very liberating to think like that. So anyway, being perfectionist has always felt more like a virtue than a burden to me, which I think is where the danger lies, because I always thought that if I am so diligent about doing something, if I am so seriously planning every possible angle of it because I want to do it properly, then surely I'm not doing something wrong, right? Because it's good to take things seriously. But as time went by, what I realized is 9 out of the 10 things I wanted to do in my life, I didn't do it just because the plan was never perfect enough. And what I realized is the plan can never be perfect enough. So recently I read a very interesting blog post, and this lady, I'll try to tag her somewhere, this lady was talking about this concept, which is if you always just think thought, and you let these thoughts and ideas reside in your own head and your own head only, then number one, did these ideas ever exist? And number two, are you the only audience for it then? I found this idea very thought-provoking because I was just like, that's so true. Like, how many thoughts go on in our head in a day that never goes to reality, that never goes to daylight? A lot of these brilliant thoughts that we might have literally pass, literally just carries itself away with time when we don't let it manifest into reality. So the first thing that I did that really helped me is starting something when I'm not ready for it yet. Starting something when the idea or when the plan is not perfect yet. When I do something, even when I just feel like I am 60 or 70% ready, the important step here is for me to just do it, to just like get it out, to just take the first step. I know taking the first step sounds so cliche, but I promise I am trying to get to something here that is not so cliche, which is you do it, you get it out, because you never know how good it is until you throw it on the wall. And here I want to call it the dialogue with the universe. You need to get this idea out there so you can receive a response from the universe. It is a dialogue between you and reality, or you and the universe, whatever you like to call it, because you're throwing something out and there's always going to be responses that come back to you that will teach you how to go on about the next step. And because the idea is not perfect yet, by getting it out there, the response from the people or the response from the universe would give you clues to how to improve it further, to how to refine your idea further. And I think the key here is we can only think of so much in our little heads that it is limited by our own imagination, our own knowledge and understanding of the world. But when we get our idea out there, it is being expanded by the possibility of the universe. And from there, you can think about how much further the idea can go. I remember many instances to which I was just not ready to do something yet, but because a close one pushed me to take the first step. And I just did it, even though I was super nervous and I had no idea what I was doing. From there, as I was doing it and just acting out the scenario and just letting the situation unfold, I was like, oh, actually, I know exactly how to do it. It was only my fear that was pulling me back. And this fear was not quite accurate. It didn't quite match up to what reality actually is. I remember when I gave my first etiquette class to 30 teachers, actually. That was very nerve-wracking because I got all of my certifications, all of my qualifications already, but I just didn't feel like I was old enough to teach a class. I didn't feel like I was experienced enough in the industry to teach a class, because a close one just arranged a class for me. She just gathered the people, she organized the workshop, and I just had to plan the class and show up. When I got there, I just saw myself taking on the role. I saw myself embodying the role. And from there, that was my first etiquette class that unfolded to so much more now. But imagine if I didn't take that first etiquette class, I don't know if I would have got to where I am now the way I did. And I mean, you never know what life holds, right? Because sometimes one thing leads to another, and it's from there that you learn so much and doors open for you to tell you what is the next natural step to take. Another thing that really helped me is getting into the momentum, having a bias towards momentum. Because the beautiful thing about life is everything begets everything else. One thing always begets something else. So, for example, being disciplined in one thing begets being disciplined in something else. Doing healthy things begets being more healthy in different areas of your life. Because things are interconnected and they are never seen in just an isolated light. Think about the last time where you practice a skill in something and naturally you became better in something else that was not completely related, but because who we are as humans, our skills are usually mutually reinforcing each other. It is never just an isolated improvement in something.
There is a concept called positive transfer, which is that prior skills acquired in one task facilitates the performance of a new related task or situation.
For example, ever since I started eating more healthily, I had more energy and more discipline for exercising. And if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense, right? Because when you're trying to get better, let's say you're trying to practice your willpower in eating healthier things, the same willpower muscle that you trained for eating more healthy will be then now extended to that willpower you have to get yourself up to exercise, to get yourself up earlier, to maybe do other things that you want to do. All of these things are just mutually dependent on each other. So here is about having a bias towards momentum. Once I roll out the dice on whatever it is that I want to do in life, that thing always leads to another. When I posted my first videos on etiquette on Instagram, initially I just thought about posting videos so I can establish my presence for teaching skills on Instagram. But then from there, I never ever knew that this platform can lead me to meaningful and high profile inquiries from different corporations and individuals around the world. And it's just one momentum begets another momentum. And from there, I had different opportunities of teaching around the world. Then that led me to starting my podcast, led me to thinking, wait, actually, maybe I should start posting more long form videos on YouTube because I do love talking to you guys more and connecting with you guys more. And very quickly, I just saw that whenever you start doing something, the universe would always open another door for you. And you start doing something else, the universe will open another door for you. So literally the most important thing is just to get into the momentum, because then that breathes into so much more momentum. So the last thing that has really helped me to just cure this perfectionist condition is, or maybe a disease. Actually, sometimes it can be a disease to be too much of a perfectionist, but let's just call it condition because we don't want to offend anybody. The last thing that has really helped me is as I'm going about checking the things I'm doing for 100 times. Okay, 100 times might be too much, but like I honestly would check my things for at least 10 times sometimes, or 7 times before I send it, publish it, or get it out to reality. And not only is that lethal to your mind, but it is so counterproductive to promoting the momentum that we previously mentioned. So now I have a new phrase that I put into my head, which is just telling myself good enough. After checking it twice, which is already a lot for a lot of people, the third time I want to check it, I just tell myself, is it good enough? And I'm like, it's good enough. Then I just get it out. And by doing that, it puts a stop to my brain before I go into a loop of just overthinking every single detail I need to do before I get something out. And telling myself good enough leads to another thing that I've been practicing, which is not only am I trying to be willing to fail, but I am almost welcoming failure. Because in life, what I realized is without failing in something, I am actually not doing something right. Because there is nothing in life that I can do and not fail time and time and time again as I am refining my craft. It is all about how you phrase this term failure. The word failure triggers a lot of fear and anxiety in us because who wants to fail, right? But then if you rephrase and shift your mindset from thinking that it is failure to just a natural part of progress in life, then you would just see it as an inevitable thing that happens as you go on about progressing and improving in your life, which is such a liberating thought to me because I'm like, everybody fails. And as cliche as it sounds, but if I'm not failing, am I even trying? And the beautiful thing about failure is every time I fail, it is guaranteed that I learn something from it. And without failing, I will never be able to refine my craft. And it is a great feeling to be able to refine your craft. So here I want to talk about another concept that I really liked from the Creative Act, where Rick Rubin was talking about sometimes the way to take that weight of yourself before you publish something or before you get something out to the reality is just telling yourself that is not going to be the last piece of your work. That's not going to be the last time you do something. And by taking that weight off me, I was like, oh yeah, This is just one of the many things I'm going to do. This is just one of the many videos I'm going to do. This is just one of the many workshops that I'm going to do. And that takes so much weight off me because now I'm like, I am allowed to make mistakes because I have another chance to correct it. I also think it is a useful reminder for us perfectionists to just see that even our own definitions of perfection is always changing because us as humans are always changing. So what I thought was perfect 1 year ago, 1 month ago, is not perfect for me anymore. What I think is perfect right now might not be perfect for my future self. And what is perfect for me definitely might not be the perfect definition for someone else. When we take this weight off ourselves to just accept that there is no such thing as an objective perfection in things, then that's when we start to realize that everything is subjective in life. Even what we call perfection is still subjective in itself. I really appreciate you tuning in to these videos I've been making. I've really been seeing making videos as a therapeutic thing to do because I have collected so many thoughts, opinions, knowledge, information, ideas throughout my life. Literally every single year or month, I would have an endless going on note on my iPhone where I just call it like brain juice, and I literally put in every single thing I learned from different books, podcasts, different conversations I've had with people. And I was always just like, where am I going to put all these things? And now I found the perfect outlet for it, where I would love to share all of these things with you guys because a lot of it sometimes have enlightened me during a specific period in life. Some things have taken me out from a struggling period in life. Some things have taught me about the meaning of life and how to just live life more meaningfully. And the other things can be how to get better at self-pursuit. By the way, this is another video I want to make, which is the difference between self-pursuit and self-optimization. I think in this era, we are so obsessed with self-optimization, but then essentially really aren't we just after self-pursuit? So this is another video I wanted to make, but let me know what you think about this as well. If you like this video, you might also like a recent video I made, which is how I find peace in this chaotic world. These videos that I've been creating is quite different to my etiquette series where I talk about manners, etiquette, communication skills, different cultural etiquette across the world. This part of my series is more to do with chicken soup. I don't know why it's called chicken soup. I just always think of these things as like chicken soup. It's like, you have chicken soup when you're sick because it makes you feel better. And I think sometimes when we're just feeling lost in life, we just need some chicken soup. So yeah, let's just call it chicken soup, where we have real talk and help each other feel just more sane and not alone in this world and in this life, because we all have so much to learn from each other. I think it's just a beautiful thing that we can grow in this journey together. Thank you so much for watching. Sorry, I'm like blabbering, but thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I would love to know what you think about being a perfectionist, or like how you have overcame being a perfectionist, because I think it's quite difficult to overcome. Anyways, I hope to see you in the next video.